If you think that being hot is all about looks, it's time to get a new mindset. Being hot is about so much more than your external appearance. Being hot is a mentality, a mindset. It's about confidence. That is why today I want to discuss why and how having hobbies are the perfect vehicle to activate your feminine energy, have self-confidence, and radiate a highly attractive aura. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Eva, and in this space we talk about how to level up and live our dream lives. We discuss things like feminine energy, holistic wellness, and mindset. So if that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing and keep watching. I used to fall victim to the trap of thinking that being hot just meant that you were good looking. I used to watch all these different YouTube videos about how to be prettier or how to look like this. And I think one of the fatal flaws of this type of content is that it was catering to only a very specific idea of what is beautiful. And if you didn't match with that standard, then you're kind of just out of luck. These beliefs and type of content also kind of gave me this inner sense that my worth came from my looks. And I'm not going to act like these superficial characteristics or factors don't play a role in our culture, because they absolutely do, and pretty privilege is real. But we need to place our value in more than just our looks, because while they are important in some ways, they're not everything. Otherwise, how fragile would our confidence and our self-esteem be as our selves and our bodies continue to change over time? We want to feel secure and confident in our identities. And when you have that on top of, the external characteristics, then you're unstoppable. And that's how we're truly attractive, confident, hot, whatever you want to call it. In reality, I've seen people with a gorgeous face, but a very ugly inside. And at least in my eyes, that makes me not see them as a very attractive person. And conversely, I've met people whose confidence and whose self-assurance really just shines through, so much to the point where they're being asked out on dates, or they're able to just carry a conversation with anyone. So clearly there's more to being hot than just your physical appearance. But what does it actually take to be attractive, to feel beautiful? I started feeling the most beautiful when I started investing the most in myself. When I was on TikTok a few weeks back, I came across a video that really illustrated this point well.
I think we place way too much emphasis on looks when it comes to building confidence, because some of you guys have not read a book in years, don't know how to do your taxes, have no sense of identity outside of the internet, and can't speak in public, and yet every morning, there you are looking at yourself in your full-length IKEA mirror going, "You're so hot. You're the prettiest girl in the world." Okay, and? Even if that were true, and let's be honest, who cares? Spell Pharaoh. Tell me what the FTC does. Name a single hobby of yours outside of media consumption. Exactly. Not hot.
The video actually received a lot of hate because I don't think people were listening to what this woman was truly saying. Being hot or attractive is about taking care of yourself. It's about having a personality, being interesting, being kind, knowing what you like and what you don't. It's knowing your strengths and leaning into that. So with that being said, let's jump into some hobbies that are sure to make you hotter. I like to think about hobbies through the framework of the 8 dimensions of holistic wellness, which are emotional, physical, occupational, social, spiritual, intellectual, and financial. You can, in theory, have hobbies in each of these 8 categories. Some of those might be easier to find hobbies in than others. In theory, that would make you the most well-rounded person possible. But let's be real, who really has time for 8 hobbies? I tweaked it and made it a little bit more manageable for me to really hone in on focusing on creating a strong sense of self, maximizing my and our hotness, while also tapping into my feminine energy. And some of the hobbies that you pick might even fall into multiple categories, which is even better. To put it very simply, you need 3 types of hobbies: one for your mind, one for your body, and one for your spirit. Our first category is the mind. You want to find some sort of activity or hobby that really nourishes your brain. This might be reading, writing, creating, learning, something along those lines that gets those brain juices flowing. You're not doing the same activity over and over again without any mental stimulation. Ideally, it's something that can put you in a state of flow rather than just staying stagnant. And a state of flow is very important because it allows us to be more creative and tap into these higher vibrational states. So if you're mindlessly scrolling through TikTok or watching 5 different reality shows, I wouldn't put that in this category, because yes, it's entertaining, but it's not as intellectually visually stimulating. Now, if you're watching educational videos on the other hand, whether that be through TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, that's very different. I went through this whole phase where I was big into documentaries on Netflix, and that gave me a lot of specific niche information on various topics, which is kind of exactly what we want. We want to become the most interesting person in the room, where if somebody were to ask you about a topic, you would be able to converse with them. So let's imagine you walk into a room or a party and you don't know anybody there. Eventually you or somebody else is probably going to approach the other and strike up a conversation. People like you more when they have something in common with you, when they can relate to you. And as a psychology graduate, we also learned about this whole idea of similar ideals attracting. You know, people will commonly say opposites attract, and maybe in some of the more superficial ways opposites attract, but when it comes to interests and values and core beliefs, people that are more similar are more likely to find each other more attractive. The more robust your catalog of information is in your brain, the easier it is for you to find something in this conversation to connect with this person on, and then be able to go from there. Because how boring is it when you're at an event or you're meeting new people and it's just the same questions again and again? What lays beyond the surface? Like, who are you really? You seem more interesting and attractive when you can genuinely talk about your interests and passions. So find something that stimulates your mind and that you think is enjoyable. My personal example of this is I rediscovered a few years ago that I love reading. That was one of my hobbies for a while, just like solo reading, and I would read a lot of self-development type books, and that was so impactful that it eventually led me to creating this YouTube channel. But very recently, I also joined a book club. What I love about that is that not only am I getting my mental / intellectual stimulation, but now it's also kind of bringing this social element into it, because I get to read books and I'm looking forward to talking about it with people that I enjoy seeing. And not only that, because I read a lot of nonfiction, personal development type books, it's nice to be in a book club where we're just reading, you know, random fiction books, and I'm able to hear people's different perspectives, and it just overall helps me to be a more interesting person that is well-versed in a wider variety of subjects. Next on our list, you need to find a hobby for your body. Something that gets you physically moving and makes you feel alive. So this might be something like walking, running, weightlifting, Pilates, yoga, or even dance. I think you guys probably already know the many benefits of just movement in general rather than just staying put. And of all of the tips and hobbies that I'm going to talk about, this category is definitely the one that is most directly tied to your physical external appearance. So of course we have those benefits, but there's a lot of things internally and inside that having a hobby that gets us physically moving is also beneficial for. When we exercise and we move our bodies, toxins are released from our skin. Our body becomes more toned. We release positive endorphins that make us feel better. Not only that, it might also really help you tap into your feminine energy. One thing that I love about feminine energy is that it really values play, which is so overlooked in our culture, I feel. There's a big importance placed on really living in the present moment and getting out of our head and dropping into our body. So when you are engaging in an activity that you just genuinely enjoy, whether that be dancing, whether it be singing and, you know, performing up on a stage, something that kind of almost makes you feel childlike, you're able to convey this very magnetic and positive energy, and it becomes contagious. Like, I can think of an example just from this past week. When I was a kid, I loved to sing and dance and just perform. And this past weekend, when we had some friends over, we were singing karaoke and we were doing Just Dance, and I just felt so alive. I felt so myself, and I was laughing, I was smiling very brightly. And it's important that we have these moments and we honor the things that bring us true joy, because it's good for our body, and overall it's just good for our well-being. Like, who doesn't want to see somebody that's happy because they're doing something that they love? Honestly, when it comes to Just Dance, I don't think I will ever stop playing it. I loved it as a kid, and it's something that I still enjoy to this day. And whatever it is, whatever that thing is for you, hold on to it, because it is so attractive when somebody knows who they are and they do exactly those things. Be unique, do things that truly make you happy versus the things you just think you should be doing. Like, literally think of the most attractive person you know. Now ask yourself, is there anybody else that is exactly like that person? They are uniquely themselves and they own it. we all have kind of this unique sense of beauty. And when we find what we're passionate about, when we find what we're good at, and we lean into that, like maybe it's dancing for me, or maybe it's weightlifting for you, that unique sense of self and the confidence that comes from trusting in your abilities is what makes people perceive you as very attractive. The third type of hobby you need for hotness is a spiritual one. This might include activities such as prayer, meditation, studying, or some form of growth. And this category is really, really important. Probably, I would say, one of the most important categories because it gives you the strongest foundation of self-trust and assurance. So let's say you decide to take up meditation. So for 10 minutes a day, you're going to implement this now into your daily routine. Well, what are the benefits of meditation? It improves our sleep, it regulates our nervous system, it improves our mood, and it increases our energy. Those are just a few benefits. We have to really think about this holistically because I think sometimes we don't even realize how all of those benefits affect us overall, how it affects our mood, how we feel about ourselves, and even our physical appearance.
Hello everyone, we are here filming on the camera again because my camera cannot seem to figure itself out, so this just might be the new way we do outros and summarizing thoughts. But where I left off, I was saying that when you are dehydrated or when you haven't gotten enough sleep, it shows physically, it shows in our faces, in our body, in our skin. And when you are engaging in some of these spiritual activities or spiritual hobbies such as meditation, the cool thing is that we can literally see physical changes when we implement these practices. There's really a certain kind of energy or a certain kind of vibe that these highly attractive people seem to have, and that is just that their energy it's light. They're sending out these good vibrations and energy, and the reason that they're able to do that is because they first filled themselves up with that good energy, those good vibrations, and we get that from engaging in spiritual activities that help us feel more grounded. For me, I started praying a lot more. That's kind of my spiritual hobby. And the more I spend time with God, the better I feel about myself. Because how nice is it to know that God made me in his image? Like, I look exactly the way I'm supposed to look. I just feel like that's so powerful. And another way that I kind of want to expand this hobby for myself is I really want to join a Bible study group, because then I'm also adding in that dimension of, social engagement from those 8 holistic pillars. It's just a really great way to grow community. That is just an example from my own life, but there are plenty of ways that we can feel more spiritually connected. That way we are filled up with good energy. Something that I want you guys to take away from all of this is that hobbies don't have to be some big grand activity. You don't have to be getting up at 5 a.m. every Saturday to go run a marathon or do a hike. You absolutely can if you want to, but hobbies can be very small things, small changes that we implement into our daily routine. 5 minutes to meditate in the morning, 10 minutes to journal before bed. These are all things that get our mind, body, and spirit aligned. That way we are able to show up as the best version of ourselves, the most attractive, confident, and interesting version of ourselves. I'm so thankful that I transformed my idea of what it means to be beautiful or hot or good looking into something that is much more holistic. It's more empowering and it's more sustainable, because the thing is, we're not going to look like this forever. Eventually, our skin is going to sag a little bit. We might grow less hair, and that doesn't mean we're any less beautiful. Aging in itself is a beautiful thing. I don't think anybody said it better than Audrey Hepburn, who is also a very beautiful woman. And so I want to read this quote that she said just to end. She says, "The beauty of a woman is not in the clothes she wears, the figure she carries, or the way she combs her hair. The beauty of a woman is seen in her eyes, because it is the doorway to her heart, the place where love resides. True beauty in a woman is reflected in her soul. It's the caring that she lovingly gives, the passion that she shows, and the beauty of a woman only grows with passing years." Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have made it this far, I love and appreciate you, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Bye.